You picture them hugging the coast, creeping along the shoreline in something small, keeping the land on one side, never letting it out of sight, because the moment it drops below the horizon, they're finished. That's the ancient sailor in your head. Brave, maybe, mostly lost. Now look at a map of the Pacific. It is a third of the surface of this planet, and it is almost entirely water. The specks in it are thousands of miles apart. And when European ships arrived with compasses and clocks and charts, there were already people on nearly every one of those specks, speaking related languages, farming related plants, which means somebody had crossed all of it on purpose and had been doing it a very long time. There was no coast to hug. There was no coast at all. For most of the last century, the official explanation was that it was an accident. A historian named Andrew Sharp made the case in the 1950s and 60s, and it became the respectable position. Canoes blown off course, drifting, washing up somewhere by luck. One way, nobody finding anything on purpose, because, the argument went, nobody could possibly navigate that. So in 1973, 3 researchers decided to test it. Michael Levison, Gerard Ward, and John Webb took everything known about Pacific winds and currents, and they simulated drifting canoes, over 120,000 of them, released from every plausible starting point, pushed by real weather, for as long as anyone could survive aboard. Then they counted how many drifted to Hawaii. None. Not a small number. None. Same for New Zealand. Same for Easter Island. The 3 corners of the Polynesian Triangle, the hardest places to reach, and the accident theory couldn't put a single canoe on any of them. The computer said no, which left the answer nobody in the argument wanted to say out loud. They sailed there, and they knew where they were going. So how do you find an island you cannot see in the middle of a third of the world? You start by throwing away the question. An island is not a dot to be located. It's a disturbance. It has birds that sleep on it and fish out over open water each morning, then come home at dusk with something in their beaks. Clouds pile up over warm land and sit there, stalled, while every other cloud in the sky slides past. And the underside of those stalled clouds can pick up a faint green wash, light thrown up off a lagoon you cannot see yet. The island announces itself for miles before it appears. And underneath all of that, it bends the ocean. Swells roll for thousands of miles in patterns that barely change. When one meets an island, it wraps around it and comes out the other side changed, bent, doubled, arguing with itself. That interference spreads outward, far past sight of land. It's a shape in the water, and you can feel it in the way the hull moves under you. If you lie down in the bottom of the canoe and stop looking, that's a navigator, a person lying flat in the dark, reading a thing through their spine. Which brings you to the strangest object in this story. In the Marshall Islands, 29 atolls, so low you can't see them from any distance. Navigators built charts, real ones. Thin ribs stripped from coconut fronds, bent and lashed together with coconut twine into an open frame, and small cowrie shells tied on at certain points. But look at what's on it. The shells are the islands, and there are hardly any of them, a few dots in all that lattice. Everything else, every stick, is the sea. The curves are how swells bend around land. The intersections are where 2 swell patterns cross and the water turns confused. It's a chart of the water, and the land is an afterthought. Not a map of the land, a map of the water. Then they left it at home. Not as an oversight, on purpose. It was studied on the beach, argued over, memorized, and then set down, and the canoe went without it. Each one was personal, made by one navigator in his own shorthand, and usually nobody else could fully read it. It wasn't a document. It was a teaching aid for building something in a skull. That's not a map, that's a person. Which is why the whole tradition nearly died in silence. You can put a chart in a museum. There are stick charts in museums right now, behind glass, in London and Washington. But the chart is the empty half. The half that mattered walked around in people's heads and got passed from one person to one person. And when the canoes stopped, it started to go out like a light. By the 1970s, in Hawaii, it was gone. Nobody left alive who could do it. So they went looking, and they found him about 4,000 kilometers west. on an island a mile long in Micronesia. His name was Mau Pielug. He had been chosen as a boy by his grandfather and trained for it, and on Satawal, the knowledge was still alive. In 1976, a double-hulled canoe called Hokulea left Maui for Tahiti with Mau aboard and not one instrument on it. No compass, no clock, no chart. Over 2,000 miles of open ocean, and at the end of it, a target you cannot see until you are nearly on top of it. He was becalmed for a week. He hit headwinds that tried to push the canoe past the target. He went days with the sky closed over. No stars, no sun, nothing to read. And he kept a running picture of exactly where the canoe was anyway, in his head the whole time. A month later, the crew saw white terns skimming low over the water, birds that sleep on land. Land was there. He'd been right the entire way, and he never wrote anything down, because there was nothing to write on that would have helped. So go back to your ancient sailor, creeping along the coastline, terrified of losing sight of the shore. Turn him around. The shore was never the safe edge of his world. It was the last boring thing before the interesting part. He isn't afraid of the horizon. He's reading it, and it's covered in writing. And everything you'd call empty out there is a page he can see and you cannot. He doesn't need a map. He is one.